right, well, this is what we were waiting for. This type of game to talk about. This was Boston Bruins hockey in my worst, best announcer voice.
Radio voice? Was that a radio voice?
My. No, that was like a Marge Simpson or her sister's voice. After a pack of Marlboro Reds. Welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. Brought to you this episode by Sparks Sharpener and our friends over at Fazenda Coffee. We'll touch on them a little bit later. What a game, man. You know, again, tons of stuff to get into. We'll hit as much as we can and probably forget to get to some of the other stuff. But as thorough a game as we have seen in ages, and I know the Bruins had a great run the end of the regular season, and I am not taking anything away from some of those games, but we're talking about games against Buffalo, games against New Jersey, some games, against the Rangers, and the Bruins did what they had to do, right, to make the playoffs, to do what they had to do, and eventually got themselves into the third seed. Playoffs, we know, are a whole different Razor. Whole different story. We didn't see Bruins hockey until the overtime of Game 3. And it then went into period 2, overtime 2 of Game 3. And they win. From opening faceoff in Game 4, pure Bruin hockey, pure domination, pure joy if you are a Bruins fan.
This was the easy one. This was pure domination. And I said it a few times. It really should have been 4-1 with 4 minutes into the second. The opportunities they had, the chances they had, they just had it clicking, and they seem to have figured out what their best strategy is, what their best adjustments are against this Capitals team, and it just seemed that the Capitals had no answer in any way. They had no opportunities to break out of their zone. They had no opportunities to get in on the rush. And I think that's the beauty of the playoffs, and you find a way to win. And then we talked about the Bruins just sneaking one out, and the best teams recognize that, and then they step on the throats. And that's what the Bruins did tonight. They weren't going to relinquish the fact that they got away with one in Game 3. And they were going to take advantage of that, the fact they got one in Game 3, to take this 3-1 lead that's good. Really feels like an uphill battle now for the Washington Capitals.
It does. It feels like, I'm not saying they've given up, but I feel like this team is tired. We know that they are hurt. That doesn't mean that they are not going to be coming out, trying to breathe fire again. But I do think the physical intentions that they have, which is part of their game, it is, a lot's been talked about it. Maybe they just believe that's how they have to play. And they do have to play that way. I mean, they got a lot of big boys over there.
Yeah.
But that's tiring, too. We touched on that after Game 3. And I think there's a residual effect on that. And the fact that the Bruins haven't cowered to that and responded appropriately. We always talk about the tenderization process of what those hits do, but part of that process that the opponent finally says, okay, uncle, had it. The Bruins have never said uncle. They said, you might have got us, but we're going to come back, and we'll give it to you a little bit. And so to me, the Bruins' physical fortitude has been very important to this, especially what we saw on Friday night.
And if you're on YouTube, you just saw me nod in a major way, and that's it. That's where I was going to go. Is if the Washington Capitals wanted to intimidate, Washington Capitals wanted to physically beat up the Boston Bruins, and that was their strategy of this series. That's what they had. They needed to use a guy like Zdeno Chara. He's a perfect example of this. If Zdeno Chara could physically impose his will, then the Washington Capitals had the upper hand. However, if you took advantage of the fact you could move the puck quicker, the fact that you could turn, the fact that you could expose maybe the size of the Capitals and to your point, the physicality that they wanted to dictate with. And that's what the Bruins have been able to do over the first four games. And it was very evident in Game 4 that it seems as though the Washington Capitals realized that they couldn't just bully this team around. That the Bruins, you stand up to the bully in the neighborhood, at some point, the bully doesn't want to deal with that anymore. And that seems to have been the strategy of the Capitals, and that's what they had, and the Bruins stood up to it.
To that point, Tom Wilson has become, look, he had a crossbar shot in this game, right? I mean, he had that one nice shot, and I noticed him more than I noticed an Oshie. I noticed him more than I noticed an Eller, who is trying hard, tried his hardest, but that lower body injury, I believe it's a hamstring is, it's a hard thing to accelerate with that. But that big bully, who was very impactful in game one and noticeable too. I thought this was his least noticeable game. By far, actually. And just saying, like, that is indicative. By the way, the biggest bully play in the game, and we will get to the Orlov hit later, but there was that Antony Mantha cheap shit late in the game. And when I say bully, I'm being facetious. That was hitting Tuca right there, right? Yeah, I know you didn't like that either.
Full on skate, cheap. That's and because it's so retaliatory, that's when you have them. If Antony Mantha's doing that at the end of a game in a 4-1 game, I mean, that's when you have them a little. And again, it's not over. I'll go back to that, but it's that was the cheapest play of the night. Is Mantha trying to go through there and listen, Mantha's not a tough guy. He's not bringing the heat like Wilson is. And to those points, you just let that guy go to the box, and then you score while he's in the box, and really make him feel like an idiot. So the Bruins have been able to, they really got to their game tonight in Game 4.
Oh man, did they ever! All right, let's run through it like we like to do here, and then we're gonna, like I said, hit on a bunch of stuff. The too many men on the ice penalty, again, second in 2 games. Jesus, way to start the game, Bees, And then Charlie Coyle gets called for that tripping play on Nick Jensen. So in the first 5.5, 6 minutes, you're shorthanded twice. And again, you can, hindsight being 20/20, with how damn good the penalty kill was those 2 times. I think that set the tone. Unfortunately, or not, I guess the Bruins are fortunate to get through that. But holy smokes, Razor. I mean, we're both looking at each other like, are you freaking kidding me with too many men on the ice? Because it was a clean, that's why there was the contact. Remember, there was a big thump on Eller 49 seconds into the game because there were 6 guys on the ice.
No, I mean, he got smoked because he had no idea that this random guy was out on the ice. It's like the Bruins alumni game when we throw a stick over the boards on a breakaway. That's what that was. That's
you guys would
Harlem
never do
Globe.
that.
Yeah, we never lose. Harlem Globetrotters move. And we'll fast forward from it a little bit. We've talked about it at the start of this series, and it seems as though they've been able to get away with it killing penalties. You can't take 7 penalties. You can't take too many men on consecutive nights on home ice as this goes on. As this run goes on, this is an Achilles heel of this team, and they have to tighten it up. And unfortunately, they did far from that tonight with the start of their game, and everybody came up big on the back end. The penalty killers did a great job, but you just don't want to see them continually kill these penalties.
No, you don't, because eventually it will catch up. Overall, 6 shots for the Capitals on the power play. Only 6 shots. And how many? I don't have the official amount of blocks that were off the power play or penalty kill by the right side.
I bet Ovi had 6 blocked himself.
Well,
right.
Well, he had 6 blocks. He had 6 shots that were blocked in the game. At least 4, if not 5, were on the power play. You're right.
Yeah.
And so that was, and we talked about it ad nauseum in our post game. But Carlo, phenomenal. McAvoy, awesome. Cliffy, beautiful. Trying to think of different adjectives for each one of them. Just sights to behold. And there were a few other blocks too. I think Coyle had one there too. I don't remember who it was on, but good block. Bergeron early on had a block off his stick that he broke it. He had to go get one. Everybody getting involved. So penalty kill, outstanding. early on and throughout the night. Yes, the Caps score a power play goal, but holy shit, it was off a deflection into the net. What did you say? That was their sixth goal. What is it? Six of
That's
seven?
nine. Yes, 7
Eight
of
of
9.
nine?
7 of 9.
Have been deflected.
7 of 9 have been off a stick before it got through Tuukka.
Or body. Yeah.
Yeah, which is bananas. Over 4 games, they've only beat them twice. And tonight was light lifting for Tuukka, but I thought he did a nice job. And we'll just get through him quick because we always have to touch on the goaltending.
Yeah.
Really nice job in the end of the second, where it was still 1-0. The Bruins had a ton of chances, and then we just talked about the fact they took a couple penalties at the end. He ended up getting 5, 6, 7 shots in the last 5 minutes of that period where he's smothering. They have 2 or 3 guys in front of the net. Point shots from Orlov. Nice job through traffic. Ovechkin through traffic. Did a good job corralling all of that, not giving a second opportunity. So he didn't have to make a ton of big saves. I thought the best save he made all night was on Dowd. The first shot of the second period with the glove save, that was a good opportunity where if that goes in, then you get deflated a little bit. He never let the team get deflated. And that's what we talk about with Tuukka. The saves he makes, the timing of the saves he makes are just as important than anything else with a team like the Bruins who don't give very much up. And then on the opposite end, Samsonov was lights out. That's as good as a goalie can play, losing 4-1 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. After the gaffe he had in the double overtime, as a young kid, he really came back and showed a lot of cojones and did everything he could to keep this team in it. And gave them a chance, and
he got hurt, or not hurt. He got tweaks. He tweaked something on the breakaway, right? Second period, DeBrusque.
Yeah.
Hall. Beg your pardon, Hall. DeBrusque
Hall
had the breakaway.
Holy, he was flying.
Yeah, Motor City. And I'm still curious, and I don't want to go on too much of a tangent here, but he was down. And the ref was talking to him, but then he got back up, and he was okay. And I get they stopped it for him, but maybe let him play a little longer there. I don't know.
He made 2 saves while he was hurt, and then the puck went out in the neutral zone. I mean, they were going to go offside or something, anyways. I know it's a Bruins-centric show, but. You'd be screaming if Tuukka, yeah, exactly. Maybe.
Exactly. Chances overall in the game, unofficially, this comes from my buddy Benny, working the NBC Sports telecast, 36-15 in favor of the Bruins when it was all said and done. And
so even if it was give or take 1 or 2, even if Benny's off 1 or 2 officially.
Which he's rarely off.
Holy smokes, yeah.
But of those 15, I bet you at least 3 or 4 came on the 6-on-4 late in the game. When the Caps were pushing. So Tuukka was definitely on the mark. I agree with you about the Dowd save. I thought he did a nice job a few times stopping the puck real well, too. The hard rims that came in, he stopped it. He did a nice job of placement for it. Bruins, I have some notes here. Physical, absolutely. The most physical game that they've had with regard to leading the charge with hits. Not responding to stuff, not taking them, but physically leading with hits. I thought they did a beautiful job with that. Part and parcel to that was getting pucks out of their own zone and then getting into the ozone with speed and hammering away. I mean, they did a gorgeous job with that. And physically, even in their own zone, they closed and sealed on Capitals. From the biggest, like Ovechkin and Wilson, to the smaller ones like Connor Sheary, who can be difficult to catch. They did a beautiful job of closing on them. And I don't have the official numbers. I'm pulling them up here as we're talking. The hits for the Caps were 38, for the Bruins were 34. I would argue that the Bruins hits were more impactful. They were when they happened.
There's no way to debate that. And they were just so much more competitive than the Washington Capitals. And that's not a good thing to hear come playoff time if your team's losing and they're not even competitive. And the Bruins,
their coach talked about that. Their coach did.
They competed everywhere, the Bruins, and that's why those hits were more impactful. They were separating. They weren't after a pass by a defenseman. They were while the Washington Capitals had the puck, they were separating guys away from pucks, and it really set the tone. And it was sometimes, and I said this on the broadcast, it was sometimes you look at the hits, and a team can have 55 hits in a game, but they're just chasing the whole time. And this wasn't the case tonight. The Bruins were separating at all times. They were in on the forecheck and making a difference, tenderizing, like you like to say. And they did that tonight, and it made a massive difference. And that's why that physicality, that bullying, it seems to have gone out the window, that strategy for the Capitals.
Yeah. And not to jump too far ahead just yet, I don't expect if the Caps try and just come out and bully in game 5, forget it.
Yeah.
They're going to have to just come out and play physical hockey, but not bully hockey.
Yep.
Just my take. I want to wrap one other thing about the PK here. Charlie McAvoy, 849. Monster game for McAvoy Friday night. Monster game. Overall 26-18, 3 assists, but 849 shorthanded. Brandon Carlo, 702. There's 2 of your big right shots. Connor Clifton, who got shifted over to the right side as well on the PK time, 623. Those were your big leaders on the PK, also because Kevan Miller was out after the hit he took. And again, we'll get to that in just a moment here. But just amazing stuff. I mean, they in the first period, 9-1 takeaways for the Bruins. You talk about separating via physical play, also stick work. Gorgeous stuff. Spacing was outstanding. Rotation was outstanding. Stick work, sticks down in lane. Oh, awesome. Let's touch on McAvoy. Then I want to go to Pastrnak. Then we'll talk a little business, and we'll get to Kevan Miller. McAvoy. I mean, we always knew he was. We knew he was burgeoning, coming onto the scene. But seeing playoff Charlie, wanting those minutes, almost needing those minutes, those 26, 27 minutes a game, that is so encouraging. And he's controlling the game in many ways from the back end now. It's impressive.
No question, he's dictating pace. We'll do the exciting hyperbole. Let's make a big deal. 4 games, he's the Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
Wow.
We're going right there. So I'm going right there because I think that's what he is to this team. And we'll talk about we can go on about the top line. We can go on about the Hall, Krejci, Smith line and what they've done and chipped in, but you're averaging 27 minutes through 4 games. You're dictating the play with 3 assists again in game 4. The way he's reading the play, it's all world. It's legitimately all world where he's making this next step. And that you can't understate what he means to this group. And if you try and imagine where this series would be without him, it wouldn't be the same 3-1 series.
No, God, no.
In any way whatsoever. So he had a great game against tonight, but he's taking his level to another game.
I would agree. I would agree. The game has accelerated even higher, and he just relishes these big games. Just relishes them. Look at Marchand. Phenomenal. Bergeron, too. Pastrnak. We'll get to him in one sec. By the way, you speak of that top line. First period, a couple of shifts. I think it was 2, if not 3 times. Right away, Bruce Cassidy threw them back out onto the ice quickly to go against good buddies Zdeno Chara. I actually thought it was more than this, but I'm just looking up the 5-on-5 numbers. Marchand only played Chara at 131. That's it. Bergeron, the same thing, 128. Pastrnak saw 127. You know something which you're going to laugh your ass off here? If you're into the Corsi thing, total shot attempts for versus against, they were all either 500 or under. Like Pastrnak was on the ice 1-4 and 3 against, but yet when the eye test didn't say that. They got the pucks in deep on the big boy, and they just cycled the heck out of him and Jensen when they could.
Yeah, Jensen must have got a shot from the far blue line to make that work that way. There's no question that they were taking it to him. And as soon as they had an opportunity to change, they were out. Again, we talked about it after game 2, what the matchups were going to be and how the Bruins were going to be able to dictate the matchups. And obviously the way they played games 3 and especially game 4, there was no answer to the matchup that the Bruins got and wanted throughout the game.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. When I say it was fun to see, I'm not saying against you. I'm just saying the matchup game really came through. It just get them out, go, and it's so important.
Yeah.
And they develop more and more as we go on. So it's 0-0 after one. Bruins come out. They get a power play goal. They actually end up getting 3 power play goals in this game. I think I'd like to give the power play the fresh cup. What do you think?
Love it.
I mean, all right.
Yeah. Because again, we were looking for adjustments, and they made the adjustment, and it made all the difference in the world. So let's
speak about that. All right, so we'll give that to Bruce Cassidy, Pando working on. I mean, look, Joe Sacco, awesome on the PK, and Kevin Dean, great keeping the D going and everything. Bruce does a lot. I think Pando does a lot of the power play too, but. Just great adjustment. We'll talk about that adjustment in one moment here as we present the Fazenda Fresh Cup of the game. This game goes to the power play that ended up clicking at 3 for 5. Not just that they scored, but how they scored and when they scored on the penalties that the Caps took. Fazenda Coffee Roasters, you can find them at fazendacoffee.com, Fazenda. Folks, awesome support. Thank you. Fazenda blew through all 50 of those mugs. We're talking about something
incredible.
Else. Just leaving at it right there.
Now he's really on the mugs, everybody. I love it.
Oh my God, Razors!
Mugs. I love it. It's so much fun for me.
The people at Fazenda are huge supporters of Morning Brew. They are also huge supporters of roasting the finest cup of coffee they can, and they are doing it right here locally in Dedham, Mass. Razor and I are enjoying all different types. We see you fans as well. Thank you very much for your support. FazendaCoffee.com. All right, let's talk about the adjustment on the power play. Pastrnak had been caught an awful lot on the off wing, looking for his one-timer, not from the best spots, either A, missing the net, or B, breaking his stick. The coaches decide to move him over to his strong side where he's going to reload, come in on his strong side. It's a different angle. It also doesn't utilize the one-timer anymore. I love this move because it forces you to think about different things. You look at the shot differently. And now all of a sudden, as a goalie, Razor, speak to how you're used to seeing the big bomb coming from the other side, but now you're like, wait a second. Where's this guy coming from all of a sudden, taking this avenue instead of me waiting to slide over to my right to block his one-timer?
Precisely, and it also opens up the down low play, and that's the beauty, especially against this Capitals team. They did such a good job taking care of the umbrella, taking care of Pastrnak over on the right flank where Ovechkin is as well, where you have one guy go up and take that away right away, and there's really no other options because he's out on an island over there. When you move Pastrnak over onto his strong side, now he can go down to Marchand. Now Richie or whoever's in front can move out. Bergeron then opens up in the soft spot. Krejci can come around the back window. McAvoy can step in. So when you move that over, you see the adjustment it made. Marchand's goal, he gets to stand in front of the net and get a stick on it. And then on Pasternak's goal, Chara's too far down because he has to respect Marchand's ability to go to the net if you pass it down low. So that opens up Pastrnak to give him a little bit more room to snap that low blocker. So I really love the adjustment, and that's what we talked about, that chess match. At some point, I think it was after game 1 or game 2, we talked about I really want to see them start working down low. And moving Pastrnak onto the right wing allows the whole unit to work down low a little bit better than having the umbrella and not have the guys in front. So really love the adjustment the power play made, opened a lot more up for them.
No question. And let's not forget too, Pastrnak usually is a hell of a passer too. You know, and so he can also use that seam pass over to a one-timer from Krejci, who is not afraid to take the clapper from there either.
That's right. And when he's over on the island, the only pass he has is that tip shot they've been trying to make with Bergeron that hasn't connected very much. I mean, when they do connect, it's beautiful, but it hasn't happened very much. And that's the only option he has, where now you move him over on the other side. He can be a little bit more creative on the passing side as well. It's a great point.
Yeah, and so I look, we've seen Austin Matthews the league leader in goals, right? I mean, he uses the reload. They use it an awful lot on Toronto. Now, Toronto's power play this year actually hasn't been great. But Matthews, the point is, we've seen it. We've seen Connor McDavid do it too. I love the variety that it gives. And I love how it forces the opponent to have to think differently out there. All of a sudden, like you said, Z's too deep in there. That leaves room for Pasta. And so happy. Look, the fact that he didn't score that goal that Marchand tipped, but that was a good shot. And I'm not saying it was going to go in or not, but the fact is it felt like that was kind of the water breaking the dam for him right there, because he had some other good opportunities before that. Remember the one he tried to scoop to the side of the net and he missed the whole thing. You and I talked, in the studio. We're like, oh, he missed it. He just missed it right there. But that assist on Marshy's goal was huge. Then the shot, bigger. You got to think they're going to start coming. You got to think that they'll start rolling now for the kid.
That's right, and what it does, it opens things up. So now maybe he goes back over onto the other side. Like what now the Capitals are thinking. Now they're wondering where he's going to be. Now they try and make an adjustment. Now it's very easy to send him back on the other side and put him back in his wheelhouse. Now that he's opened things up, now there's lots of options for this power play unit. Now there's lots of options for David Pastrnak where he wants to go out there and take a shot from.
All right, so they're up 2-0 after that Pastrnak goal on the power play, 29 seconds into the third. But then I'd like to give the spark of the game to, again, Jake DeBrusk and Charlie Coyle, that for making it 3-0. Are you good with that, or you want to give the spark to somebody else? Because
No.
2-0, it still felt like, even though they were dominating, but you're like, okay, don't make that one mistake, though. Don't make, just keep playing this way, boys. You're right. And meanwhile, Charlie Coyle, 1:03, so a minute and 4 seconds after. Or not, I beg your pardon, not a minute and 4. I suck at math, folks. 34 seconds. Jake DeBrusk goes on the breakaway. I guess you could say it was a perfect miss because of how high it hit off the board.
He passed it to himself.
And he passed it to him.
An alley-oop off the glass to himself.
That was Harlem Globetrotters like, really. That was. And then Charlie Coyle comes in and slams it in. Another big goal for him. Get him going right there. So let's give that our spark of the game. Brought to you by Sparks Skate Sharpener. The finest skate sharpening machine out there. Go to sparkshockey.com. Our friends at Sparks, so good to us here. They're offering Morning Brew listeners free shipping. Nobody else is getting that, so use sparkshockey.com/morningbrew. Just this morning, on Friday morning, went in, did Jake's skates for his couple of games that he had today. Going to be going back at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning, getting him sharpened as well for the other games that he has. The easiest thing you could do for skate sharpening, convenient, accurate, outstanding. Thank you to Spark Sharper. So let's give it to Charlie Coyle and Jake DeBrusk. 3-0 at that time. Ovechkin ends up scoring the one power play goal. You made a good point in the post game. He busted his ass in this game. He did, and yet he almost looked like, ugh, what more do I have to do? I thought you made a really good point about that how he needs help.
He does, and I'm by it. I love Ovi. I was in the league when he started. He just always has energy. He's great for the league. He just scored so many goals, and I thought the way he played tonight, if he had 10 other guys playing the way he did, he might have a chance. I think he's their best player, other than Samsonov, and he just keeps firing away. Listen, he gets stagnant. I know, he gets standing there, but he just keeps firing away. He's taking the body the whole time, and the reality is, it's not enough. He can't do it himself, and back to the spark is Charlie Coyle gets on the board, right?
Yeah.
That's a goal. He didn't score a lot of them in the regular season. Now he's got a goal in 4 games in the playoffs. Jake DeBrusk contributing in that way as well. He's got points in 3 of 4 games.
Yeah,
that's
and
a big deal.
And what, 6 of his last 7 going back to the regular season?
That's
or
right.
7
So that can be considered a heater at this point if we want to do that. And it might get overlooked, but it won't get overlooked when those guys are sitting down having a glass of red wine, having dinner tonight, that I'm on the board. And yes, it wasn't the overtime winner. It was, but I'm on the board now. I'm feeling better about myself.
Yeah, and he should. And Coyle, I had down here for a couple of blocks too. Let me give you his line. A goal, 1807 in 27 shifts, 6 hits. That was the number that I was trying to get to. He had 6 hits. That is freaking awesome, seeing that from the big boy. 6'2", 220 something. I mean, that is, I love seeing that. His line in general was good, physical. Richie, good. You know, Richie was getting in there. Richie wasn't taking any crap from anybody. He was on that line in a good way. In a good way. You know, he was there. So wonderful to see. And I'm thrilled that Jake DeBrusk is jamming away right now. That is gigantic for this team.
Those guys are in the mix, right? That's what we've been waiting for, those 3 guys to be in the mix. And they don't need to score. They don't need to but they just need to be in the mix. And I think a lot of times this season we felt like they weren't in the mix, that they were struggling to the point of not knowing where to go. But now they're in the mix. Richie on the line, Coyle with 6 hits, DeBrusk skating. They're making a difference on every shift.
Let's just quickly touch on the Curtis Lar, Sean Corelli, Chris Wagner line, 5-on-5. They had 3 chances for, 1 against. They were throwing their bodies around too. They had some great. I love the hands play. What was it in the 3rd period of Lazar? Geez, where
the pass.
He shifted away and passed it over. Yeah, I love that play. Great to see Curtis Lar have his wife and child, there and at the game tonight. By the way, that was awesome too. That means an awful lot, I know. But the 4th line. Jamming away. So, again, just full everybody. I thought Mike Riley continued to get better, like his puck.
He had his best game. He had his best
I would
game.
agree.
We didn't even talk to him all night. But
yeah, puck movement was excellent. So that was all great. Again, I did not like the Mantha play at all. I'm thrilled that Grzelcyk scored a goal there on the slap shot from the flank, on the one-timer to stick it to them there. Cheap play. I don't think Mantha's a cheap player, but I think he's fallen into that. I got to do something like this. By the way, Mantha's had so many opportunities in this series, and in this game, Antony Mantha had no shots on net, none.
Yeah,
I go back to this.
He had like 20 slot shots. Like holy, he's snake bitten and he's frustrated and came out tonight.
Yeah, I go back to this. I think the Caps are tired. I do. I think they're chasing it right now. Can't get off their neck, though. Stomp and wait. All right. Let's wrap up here with not the officiating, but by the way, the officiating very inconsistent in this game. Very, in my opinion. But the play where, and we talked about this during the intermission, Orlov hit on Kevan Miller. First of all, everybody hope Kevan is going to be okay. Let's hope. Brought to the hospital for tests. Let's hope that his head hit the ice. That was where he took a significant impact in the back of the head when he got hit and fell down. Obviously, folks, everybody's hoping he's okay. We all know that. Wonderful guy. Your heart, your stomach curls. It curls when you see him and he's down, and you could tell that he was disoriented at that moment. I do not know if he was out, Razor. Not sure. But you could tell that he was disoriented after he got hit. Let's talk about the hit. Coming through center ice. Orlov, defender Razor, stepping up in that area. The question is, a lot of people say he launched. I don't have frame by frame. I have some pictures. He did thrust forward. Okay, he thrust forward to make a hit. Way I saw it, I'll let you talk through it as well. After replay and everything, the principal point of contact was upper chest, shoulders. Shoulders more probably than anything. And Kevan, because he was leaning a little forward, and then Orlov lunges forward, catches him with arms going forward, not a cross check, with arms going forward, catches him in that shoulder, and then pushes Kevan. I mean, there's 2 strong men coming together, gets him backwards, and there's contact made by the visor of the helmets collide. That's it. The frontal part collide, the visors collide, but then the significant impact for Miller, I think, was when he hit the ice, when he fell back. And they called a major. as they should do, because the back referee didn't raise his arm right away. I watched that vividly. He then raised it because like something happened here. Now they make that call, Razor. They go to review, and they turn it into a double minor and then a minor to the Bruins on the same play. He ends up getting a minor penalty for that play. And as much as it pains me to say, I mean, Kevan Miller being hurt and everything he's gone through, I think they got it. I think they got that right on that play. And I hate to see a guy go down, but the principal point wasn't the head, and the result was awful. It was shitty. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it happens in our game.
It does. And listen, I'm a big intent guy.
I'm with you.
We've talked, there's been other instances this year, and I was on one side, I was on another side. It's an intent thing, and I've seen a lot of hockey. I've been on the bench of these games, and Orlov, there was no intention there. It was unfortunate, and the point of contact, he wasn't trying to attack Miller's head, and the problem was that he ended up hitting his head on the ice. And that's what makes it scary. That's what you hope that he's okay. You hope that he's feeling better.
Yes.
And we already dealt with a Tavares incident in the past couple of days, and he went to the hospital and he was okay, and he got all scans cleared, and you hope the same as Miller. And he's been injured, and he's so important to this team, and he's so great. And I've been on personal trips with him. He's a great human. In this situation, Orlov doesn't have a reputation. He's a hard player. He was trying to step up. Miller might have been ahead of him just a little bit. He got his hands up a little, but it wasn't like he was trying to take his head off, in my opinion. And then you talk, and I talked to a couple guys in Toronto. I talked to a referee. I deferred to some of the NHL guys to make sure, and they're saying the same thing. It's either not a penalty or So
I give him a roughing penalty because I thought he accelerated into him, and that's fine. And I'm with you. I talked to 3 guys too, and I'm sure it's not a popular opinion. I get that maybe with some people out there. It doesn't mean that I don't love Kevan Miller and the Boston Bruins and want them to do well. I try to present the facts the way that I see them. And the same with you. You did the same thing. I'm thinking about it.
I'm going to think about it, and if it works, it doesn't. But it's not a. So that's the way it is, and that's. I think they got it right. Of all the calls that are going on in this series, I mean, there's 42 minor penalties in 4 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs between these two teams. So I mean, we could dissect a lot of these penalties at this point. This is the one they did the proper thing, calling the major, being able to look at it, review it, make sure they have everything right. And then, no matter how they sized up the minors, they did the right thing where the Bruins ended up with a bit of a power play, and they ended up scoring on it. And they scored. That's what you're supposed to do. And so that's also hockey karma, which tells us that it was all done properly.
Exactly. And just again, if there was frontal contact, it was the visors of Orlov and Miller connecting. Now, if it had been an intentional driving of the head into him, you could call a major for a headbutt. You can. I mean, you can call a penalty for that. But I don't think it was. I don't think it was. So we hope Kevan is okay. And hopefully the Bruins, can put away the Capitals on Sunday night. Everybody gets some rest and get Kevan back. That would be wonderful. So that is our take. All right, that's going to wrap things up here. Unless you got anything else? Anything that so the Caps, by the way, in the first period, they had like no shots on goal for how long was it? Do you remember that number?
Yeah, 11:21 of the first period to 12:43 of the second period.
Dominant.
Did not have a shot on net. So at 12:43 of the second period, they had 4 shots on net still. But crazy.
Just crazy. I mean, they had 2 power plays in the first, 2 power play shots, 2 even strength. So domination by the Boston Bruins, the way that they wanted to play all series long. And again, they did it late in the game, in game 3 in overtimes. They won that game. This game, they took care of business a lot more efficiently, effectively, quickly. What a game. Your Boston Bruins now up 3-1 in this series. Razor and I, man, oh man, hugely busy. That's awful English, but busy Saturdays with the kids, with the family, with everything. We'll get back together at Nesson on Sunday night. We'd like to thank, as always, Sparks and Fazenda for being a part of this show. Razor, have a wonderful couple of days, and we'll see you on Sunday night, all right?
Sounds great. Enjoy
All right,
the coffee.
everybody.
Lots of coffee this week. Yeah.
Lots of coffee. I'm going for the triple strength one. I may have to break out the Fazenda blend itself for my Saturday and Sunday morning brew. All right, everybody, the weather's getting nice. Your Bruins are playing even nicer. Have a wonderful Saturday and enjoy that coffee.